Hi, welcome to Help with Hannah Jones. I'm Hannah Jones, and this is a podcast where I answer your questions, Dear Abby style. Thank you, Patreon patrons, for making this podcast possible, and thank you, Dude IDK Studios, where we are recording today. I have a guest in the studio to help me answer your questions today. She is the host of the hit podcast Fluently Forward about celebrity gossip and a general woman about the internet. It is Shannon McNamara.
Woo! Hi, guys.
Hi.
I'm excited for this. I've never really done an advice podcast before. So,
really?
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of like the main format of podcast that exists now, but it's the only kind of podcast that I listen to. So when I was going to start a podcast, I was like, I guess it has to be that.
Yeah. No, I do like listening to it. And I miss Dear Abby. Like, I just
So much.
love, like, also seeing what type of advice people give. It kind of tells you a little bit about them. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was straight Dear Abby and then Dan Savage. Do you remember back when it was a written advice column?
Oh, yeah.
I was obsessed with him. He's how I learned about everything holes related.
Did you ever do, like, I remember Yahoo Answers as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I had an account with, like, so much karma or points on it because, like, in high school, I would be, like, advising women on their divorces. I'd be like, sit right here. Like, here's what you have to do. Like, I would just go through and give advice. And I was probably 14 or something. Like, I shouldn't have been giving advice. But I would just sit for hours and, like, give advice to people asking questions on Yahoo.
My favorite thing about talking to you is that, because obviously you and I met via running in the same internet circles, vaguely. Yeah. And then every time we talk about a different era of the internet that we've all been through, you were also had prominence in that era of the internet. Like, even back in Yahoo Answers days when I never had an account, but I was always looking up just essentially like, will boys hate me if my boobs don't get any bigger? Will boys hate me if my butt doesn't get any bigger? Will boys hate me blank?
Yep. And then there was always an answer. Maybe I was answering your questions and I was
possibly.
Like, no way they won't. Here's a Taylor Swift song that you should listen to.
That classic Taylor Swift song about getting boobs.
Yeah.
Okay. How have you been recently?
I've been good, just chilling. It's the end of summer. We get that nice crisp feeling in the air. I've always said that, like, New Year's Eve should actually be in September because that comes with, like, the back to school feeling. Like, the air gets colder and you're like, fresh start. Like, now feels like the time to, like, start a new project or a new lifestyle trend or something.
Plus, now is, like, so the time. At the end of summer is the time that I always kind of want to go sober for a while.
Me too.
So if I could have a New Year's resolution where I stop drinking and, like, start working out a lot, the best time for that to happen is in September.
And now it's good running weather too, so you can swap. But yeah, I experiment with Sober Curious, but I got a bunch of weed drinks lately. So, like, are you still Sober Curious if you're just not drinking alcohol, but you are drinking THC?
These are, okay, I've had the CBD drinks, but these are straight THC drinks.
They mix a little bit of it in. So, like, you're going to feel more than just relaxed. I'm going to try my first one tonight.
Fun.
Yeah.
Wait, that's really fun.
Yeah.
I like the fun alcohol alternative drinks when I do go sober. I'm always in a progressive phase of, like, cutting back, which means I'm approaching sober at all times. But I'm just praying I never have to really go there.
That's so relatable because, like, when you drink too much, especially I think if you get older, I think this might be why older people want to be sober curious. Have you ever had, like, a shitty margarita with margarita mix?
Yes.
Like, when I was 20, I loved that. And now that I'm 30, I feel like if I have a shittily made drink, I'll have a sip of it and be like, I'm really interested in going sober curious, you know? But then if you have a really well-made cocktail or glass of wine, you're like, actually, I'm cool with drinking. So maybe that's what it is.
I had two diametrically opposed experiences where, like, and it's so funny that you said margarita because yesterday I went to lunch with a couple of friends from college, one of whom was visiting from Denver I hadn't seen in a while, and it was like a fun lunch, and I was like, I'm going to get a margarita, and they deliver it to the table, It's way too strong. Every margarita in the world is a double, and I have no idea why it doesn't need to be a double. It could be so fun to just have a regular lunch margarita and not just be wasted at 1 p.m.
Yep.
feeling like you're getting a fucking sunburn.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they like bring me the world's strongest margarita. I have to be like, oh, Hunter, can you drive us home? I'm accidentally fucking hammered.
The difference between 1 and 2 drinks, it's night and day. Yeah.
And especially because I don't drink more than 1 drink hardly ever, it really fucks me. We go back and we're playing Mario Kart in the middle of the afternoon. Actually, allegedly.
So by the way, you're driving drunk because you're
a work day
karting.
for me. Yeah. So I'm driving drunk because I'm karting. And the whole time I was thinking, I definitely wish that I would have had an extra rational thought in my brain being like, don't have a margarita at lunch today. They're always too strong, and it's not going to feel like you want it to feel.
Yeah.
But how I wanted it to feel was this past weekend when I was camping, and I had a beer by the campfire.
Oh.
And I remember thinking to myself, like, this beer by this campfire is like possibly the best sensory experience I've ever had in my goddamn life.
Pairing the alcohol with activities like, okay, if I'm having a dry white wine, which is my favorite, I want to be on a back porch of a Connecticut mansion, and the kids are all tucked into bed, and the dog's at my feet. Like, oh, that feels so freaking good, you know? And like a beer by the campfire. And if you drink outside, it counts as like half a drink because you're outside, so it's good.
That's so true. Half of it evaporates into the air.
Totally. Yeah. You know, I took science. It like goes up and then the clouds and then it rains down.
The cycle of water.
For sure. For sure. So yeah, campfire beer is like that. You could be sober and have a campfire beer because it's a campfire beer.
We also did shrooms during the day, allegedly. No, they're legal here. We fully did shrooms during the day. And I just did a little bit. That's my favorite thing to do when there's psychedelics going around, is doing a little bit less than everyone else is doing, so that I feel like I'm safe.
Yeah, you take notes on everyone. Like sometimes I'll do that. Yeah.
But it was I went with a couple of friends, and we've been camping at the same place with the same group for many years now as a bit of like a summer tradition. So it's like the optimal place to do psychedelics because you know everyone and your surroundings really well.
Yeah.
And I felt super comfortable. And it was so nice. We had like just enough time in the sun where we were all peaking, and then we went to our tent because it got a little rainy. It was actually pretty rainy all weekend, but surprisingly morale stayed strong. But you know when you like did shrooms all day, and then you're like kind of coming down and you're like, and then you like crack open one nice drink to like get everyone back on a same page of like friendship, because at the end of a shrooms trip you're always like, my tummy hurts a little bit and the visuals are gone and I don't know what we're gonna do next, and to have that nice transition point of like, now it is nighttime and we're gonna get a little giggly again and then feel all cozy in our sleeping bags. And it's
no, you're so right, because there is that tailwind end of it, but then it's also hard because it kind of like goes in waves up and down, so you'll be like, like I don't know, and then you'll be like, actually I know, and I kind of know everything, and then you'll be like, no, I actually like don't know again. And the nausea is also real because you're like, am I gonna have diarrhea like next to in my friend's bathroom right now, or like am I not? So that's like another element to it.
Yeah,
the nausea sucks.
Yeah, it's so interesting when you're on psychedelics because, like, I was having, like, we took the shrooms and you never know kind of, like, what type they're going to be, but they ended up being silly. Just goofing, just bits. We were creating, like, different rules and, like, different running jokes, and everything was, like, it was, like, the perfect Seinfeld episode, you know? It was just so exquisitely put together, artistically. Yeah. And then I accidentally looked at my phone, which was an extraordinarily overwhelming experience. You should never look at your phone when you're...
The way that I have no desire to look at my phone when I'm on drugs, which is funny because when I'm sober, my screen time's literally 10 hours a day. So I'm fascinated by, like, the difference of, like, the power of drugs versus the power of your phone. And I feel like phone beats drugs usually.
When I am on drugs, the way that I feel about my phone is that it's like it feels like I'll always put my phone like across the room so I don't get the muscle memory of like, oh, I should check this once an hour, you know? But I'll put it across the room and it feels to me like, imagine like the Hat Man is sitting in the corner.
The Hat? And was that like a demon?
That's the sleep paralysis demon that everybody sees that's really scary, and he's like glowing eyes and like a black silhouette with a hat. And
Like the Babadook or something.
Yeah, but the vibes are like the Babadook is in the corner and we're all having a conversation and it's fine. Just like don't look at the Babadook and don't think about the Babadook and certainly don't engage with the Babadook and be like, hey, what's up? Who are all the people trying to contact me?
Yeah.
What business things am I overdue on? How many tickets have I sold? Like,
Yes. Don't look at that hat, man. It's like a perfect way to describe it. Yeah.
And it was funny because I did end up, because it started raining, we all had to go into our, and I thought I was kind of like sober, and then I looked at my phone and I was like, I am not sober yet, because when I'm sober, I can handle the experience of looking on my phone. And I remember I like looked at a couple of things and I went through the entire emotional arc of like, this is disgusting that so much of my life is dependent on what happens on this device that brings me mostly pain. And then I remember seeing like a very sad. Okay, so actually let me rewind and give you some Denver comedy gossip.
Oh, please. I love gossip.
So in comedy in general, like opportunities are scarce and everybody's kind of overworking themselves. They're putting a lot of time and energy and not getting the money. Like we're all just underpaid and competitive. And so a lot of times there will be like a thing that everyone could get. Like there's this big festival called JFL, and every year when JFL like announces its new faces, the people who got it for the first time, everyone else is like sad because literally every comedian ever wanted
it's like
that.
Callbacks for like High School Musical or something.
Totally, exactly. And then there's on local levels. So there's this like thing locally that everybody wants, and then whenever it gets released, who got it, everyone's like, bummer. But then a lot of people who maybe don't have the best mindset around comedy or are like struggling emotionally will create like long Facebook posts about like how disappointing it was.
Not on Facebook too.
On Facebook, dude.
Well, do they do that so that way no one reads it? Because like who's on Facebook anymore?
No, because Denver comedy is like very Facebook heavy. Like because the scene is so like ancient and like it's like so old man that they have to be on the old man social media platform.
Yeah.
But so I remember reading one of these long posts.
Are you in JFL by the way?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
No, not super close to getting that kind of an opportunity, but that's like an illustration of like the kind of local opportunity that this post was about.
Sure.
So it was like this big long post about how disappointed this person was that they didn't get something. And I remember reading it and being like, whew, at least I'm not that guy. And I locked my phone and I put it away and my shroom strip was saved.
Yes. Wait, that's so cringe though. So somebody won't get it. Mm-hmm. And then I remember in college when I tried out for the improv team the first time, I ended up not getting it. And I was like so mad. I was like, I actually like fuck all of those guys on the team. Like they're actually like idiot nerds or whatever.
And they probably are.
Yeah.
Because it's college improv.
But then next year I made it and I was like, these guys are the best, you know? Because like there's such a personal and I don't know how actors and actresses do it because like you have to get rejected all the time and it feels so personal. Mm-hmm. But even when I was like 18 in college, never would I post on Facebook openly about how I was like disappointed about not getting something. Like, how did the post read?
Yeah. Well, I think that there's like comedy tends to attract people who maybe don't have the best grip on like the social consequences of their actions all the time.
Yeah.
And I definitely would consider myself a part of that community. Like, not always the most aware of like how I'm coming across. And they're like feeling a feeling and they like want that feeling of like a bunch of other people being like, yes, this feeling is normal and I felt that way too, kind of thing. And I try to remember that like outsized disappointment at rejection is always not about the thing. It's about like that thing was set up to trigger you. Like if you're really upset that like a person rejected you romantically, it's not because of that person. You hardly know that person. It's because you have inherent insecurities that you're having trouble getting past.
Yeah.
And like same with comedy, when I might feel like a twinge of jealousy that like someone else got something, I always try to remember like, oh, it's because I'm overworked and underpaid. And this thing feels somehow connected to the bigger issue of me being overworked and underpaid.
Yeah. Got it. Okay, good thing you have the advice podcast. I mean, that was pretty profound.
Thank you. So that's our first set of advice today, everybody.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, are you ready to get into some...
I'm
no,
ready.
wait, hang on. You recently went to the furry convention.
Yeah, here in Denver. It was called Den Fur Convention.
That's so phenomenal.
And my friend Tyler and I went Sunday. We dressed up a little bit. I got like bunny ears and a bunny tail. I tried to do like an Alice in Wonderland meets the White Rabbit.
It looked
combined.
very cute and Halloween and not at all what I think of as like furry.
Well, here's the thing. Those suits are expensive. Like just the head alone can be like $1,000 to $2,000. And the suit can be anywhere from, there are suits that are like go up to 25 grand.
Wait.
Yeah.
That's actually all the girlies who like go to like the cocktail bars in hotels in Manhattan should instead be going to furry conventions to find their rich husbands because those men have money.
Like the crazy. And if you see like a fursuit with like sometimes they have like little lights or like marquee things that go across, it's like get your holes open. Like that guy's a billionaire, you know, a fur billionaire. But it was honestly like I didn't know what to expect. Like I feel like you hear certain things about furries online and you're like, oh my God, they're all having sex in fursuits. There was some sexual stuff at it, right? Like some of the art, some of the dildos.
Some of the dildos were sexual. Some of them were quite wholesome.
Some of them were holy and then some of them were X-rated and one of them was inspirational.
Inspirational dildo?
Yeah.
Can you explain?
I guess it inspires you to like take 20 inches in your back door. Because I was asking around too, because some of these ones I was like, how does, like, I've had a vagina my whole life. And like, I don't know if I could put some of this in me. And they were saying that a lot of the big ones or the long ones that are like tentacles are for the back door.
Yeah.
Because it can go like all the way up there.
I did know that. And there's like a great deal of room in there. Men always say that once you get past the opening, it's like,
yeah.
the world is your oyster.
I imagine it like, I don't know why I always imagine it, maybe because, you know, like when you blow a balloon, which by the way kind of looks like an asshole when you're blowing that. But then like you have the huge balloon, but the tight opening. That's kind of how I imagine the ass. Anyway, but it was fun and everyone there was like so friendly. And honestly, it was like a mixture. I bought like a lot of the merch. It's like a mixture in between Neopets and Pokemon, and it's these animal cryptids, and like everybody's like making TikToks and dancing. It was a blast. I want to go to the next one.
I always feel like I was a furry growing up in the sense that I had multiple webkins and I would imagine that they had relationships with each other.
Me too. I was talking to a friend the other day. I'm like, because you know how like Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron was hot and like so was the girl horse. And she was like, are you good? I was like, no, like we all thought, you know, when Simba became a teenager that he was hot.
Fish with the scar in Finding Nemo.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Even
and
the turtle, marriage material.
Loki the Tramp and Lady and the Tramp.
Yep, and the lady too. Like honestly, like just like all of them. So I don't know, but some people don't think that.
I just realized I'm bi for humans, but I'm straight for animals. Because I can't think of a single
what about Lola
female
Bunny?
cartoon animal. No, nothing for me. Because I don't like high femme. I don't like tits or ass, really. I just like...
dick.
No, I just like women who have like a masculine vibe.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to think on some animals. I know
yeah,
that there's
is there like
in
a
Atlantis,
butch cartoon that we know of?
A butch animal. I'm going to have to think about it. Who was your crush in Atlantis?
You know what? I didn't see Atlantis until I was like older, so it was the man in Atlantis.
Oh, okay. Because you have Rosie, she was like a mechanic, and then you have like the blonde lady, and she was kind of a bitch. So I don't know if that's.
You know what? Yeah, I don't think I even registered them as possibilities because they were side characters.
Ah, okay. Yeah, main characters only.
Yeah. Okay, hell yeah. Thank you so much for talking about the fur convention with me. Are you ready to get into some questions?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Oh, first of all, actually, before, we have a message from a listener. It came through the question submission. He said, not a question, but I was the guy who submitted earlier about how to break the ice on dating apps. You and the scientist guest, that's Tanya Sabrina, recommended humor. For all the guys listening, it works. Getting more matches and braiding the conversation from initial attraction to a real conversation. Thanks for the advice. Signed, Chilling in Chicago. I'm so happy that it worked for you. Have you been going on a lot of dates? Getting a lot of pussy? That's fucking awesome. Yeah, we basically suggested really opening with humor. I think humor for straight men is the equivalent of like tits on straight women. Like it's just an undoubted, it's not the most important thing to everybody, but on average, it'll break the ice, you know?
Yeah. No, humor. I was talking to a friend the other day and I was saying I usually date a lot of short guys and which is always staggering to me when so many girls are like, he has to be 6 foot or over. I'm like, he really doesn't, especially if you're like 5'3". Like, I don't understand it myself. But we were talking about how, like, you know, if you're short, you can't really help it. And I was like, I guess if you're like really, really short as a guy, you just have to like make a bunch of money or something. And then my friend was like, or you could be funny. And I was like, exactly.
Literally.
Like, you could be fun. Like, even if the only thing you have going for you is funny, that's a lot going for you. Because also, if you're funny, you're smart. So
I have always said this because I have been known to love short guys too.
Yeah.
Specifically because I used to do a bit about this. Like, short guys work harder to be palatable, you know? Like, I feel like a lot of guys just sort of like rest on their height and then have no personality, and I feel like short guys really know that they can't get away with that, and they really I always say like they eat pussy like it's their last meal. Like, they like need the calories because they're a growing boy, you know?
Yeah, I'm with you. I dig short guys. And it's great because like all of these girls have like their, you know, standards set for like 6 feet above, and then we come in and just swoop,
Absolutely.
clean up.
You got to be looking for the thing that no one else is looking for.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into questions, number one, I have shows coming up. September 21st, I'm headlining in Oakland/San Francisco. Tickets are almost gone. Low ticket alert. This show will sell out, not even because I'm so fucking popular, but because this venue usually sells out their shows with their like regulars at the brewery. So if you are one of my followers and you're waiting until the last possible day to get tickets, please don't, because that means some like random brewery regular is going to come instead of you. And that will be such a bummer. So please get your tickets in advance if you can at all. I would really love to see a ton of you there. Chicago, October 6th. That ticket link is also up. Tickets are moving. I'm so excited for both of these shows. I'm getting my own venue and doing it independently. If you are coming to one of those shows and you know the neighborhood and you have a suggestion of like maybe a bar everyone can go out to hang afterwards, definitely let me know. We did that in Denver and it was super fun getting to meet all of you and hang out with you after the show. So I'm also hitting Austin, Des Moines, Bisbee, and Tucson this fall. Ticket links will be up soon. Please sign up to get a text when I'm in your city in my link tree. Number two, this podcast is sponsored by the Patreon. Patrons have first priority to get their questions answered, and they also receive a bonus episode every month. It's $3 or $10 if you're feeling generous. An absolute steal. You can't get anything for $3. You can't get a furry fursuit for $3. You maybe one little tiny rabbit tail, but that's it. And if you want to ask a question to get answered in a future episode, you can find the link to that form in the podcast description or in my link tree. Alrighty, question number one.
Here we go.
So, I just moved out of my parents' house and into a different city in January. I started dating my girlfriend in February, and I can't shake the feeling that I missed out on feeling single and independent while I had the chance. I love my girlfriend so much, and I don't want to break up, but I can't tell if this feeling of longing for my single life, which was so fun but also so detrimental to my mental health at the same time, is normal. It's my very first relationship, so I don't know if this is just jitters or something everyone goes through, or if maybe there's a problem I'm not finding a name for. Sometimes I want to ask my girlfriend to open things up, but I know she would never go for that. She's just not that kind of person, and that is totally fine. I just don't really know what's going on in my brain, and I know you can't answer that for me, but I'm wondering what advice you would have for someone in this situation. Signed, Cardiac Salmon. To start,
I'm triggered.
you just moved out of your parents' house and you're super young, which makes this harder to answer for me, especially since this is your first relationship. I feel like it's equally likely, because both of these scenarios are really common. One is that you think you want single life, but you really just want like affirmation, and you really just miss the feeling of like being flirted with and shit, and that's super normal. Or two, you're dating someone you like actually don't like and you don't know it yet because it's your first relationship. Both of those are such common scenarios, especially when you're younger.
Yeah. For me, it's like, I can't tell, like, is this person avoidant? Like, do they miss the single life because they fear commitment? Like, what is it about the single life they miss? Is it coming all the time and random people? Is it not having to text someone where you are every day? Like, I would kind of drill down and be like write down on a piece of paper, like, what do you miss about the single life?
Yeah.
And what do you not miss about it? And then notice, like, similarities in that. So maybe it's not the single life that you're missing. Maybe your girlfriend's too controlling, or maybe it's the fact that you're not having enough sex, or maybe it's the fact that you miss hanging out with your boys. I don't know. Like, there could be something there, but I'm with you. Like, I feel like if you have all of these thoughts about it, you probably shouldn't be in a relationship, especially too because they started dating in February.
Yeah.
Right? It's August. So this isn't like it's been going on for years and years. And like sometimes, you know, you do get like a little bit like, oh, what else is out there? I don't know. I would say if I had to vote strongly, like stay together or break up, I would say probably break up, but figure out the reason before you do.
That is so interesting because, yeah, I do kind of agree. My vote is leaning toward breakup because you are so young. And I think that if you were older and had been in more relationships, I would say it is fairly normal in relationships to feel this like kind of gradual drop off of like the dopamine, and you kind of have to like work harder to figure out how your relationship that you feel safe and secure in is going to give you a dopamine rush, because most of us are used to getting our dopamine rush from unhealthy sources. And that sounds like what you're saying when you said that like your single era was super bad for your mental health. It sounds like you have this like tried and true pattern of putting yourself in not optimal, potentially even dangerous situations and getting this great dopamine rush from it. And there's probably like heavy substance use involved because that's so common. But now you're in a relationship and you don't have that common source of like excitement and like the unknown. That being said, it's your first relationship and it's only been a few months.
I think it might just be the wrong relationship, because when you're in the wrong relationship, it sucks. And sometimes it makes you think, oh my God, am I just not a relationship person? Like, am I not meant for this? Like, am I like, I don't know, can I just not do it? But then when you're in the right relationship, like everything just like makes so much sense and it feels so good, and you don't like think about longing for the single life like at all. So it could just be the wrong person.
That's true, because when you are in the right relationship and you're experiencing that lack of excitement, what goes through your mind is not like, maybe I need to be single. What goes through your mind is, how can I get more excitement in this relationship? Like, it's like really obvious that that's what's, but if you're like questioning whether or not it's that or something else, it's like definitely the something else.
Yeah. But also this person could have a fear of commitment, because if I'm in a bad relationship, I think to myself, what if instead I dated the guy who dropped off the food takeout? You know, like you just want to be with someone else. You don't want to be single. So I don't know.
If you're genuinely super, if what we're saying triggers in you a thought of like, yeah, we do need to break up sooner rather than later. If you're still kind of like, no, actually, I really like this relationship, try to incorporate more excitement and novelty into the relationship, because you might also be doing that thing where you're just staying in and ordering takeout and watching TV every time you're together. And that will make you feel like this because you missed the single life because you were going out and doing new shit. So start going out and doing new shit, and that should clear things up pretty easily, because either she's not going to be open to that, in which case, oh damn, that was the problem all along. She's a homebody and I want novelty. Or she's going to be into it and it's going to be like really clear when you're dating each other again that you don't want to date her.
Cosign.
Okay, awesome. Question number 2. I often feel like I will never meet anyone. I'm a 31-year-old virgin man, and I'm mostly terrified of women that I find attractive. Whenever I meet one, which is rare, I don't know where to go to meet people, and I'm very much stuck in a rut. My standards are probably a little too high for someone that doesn't have much to offer, but do you have any advice for meeting women? Or should I just give up entirely? I've tried all the online dating as well, but I just can't ever get anything going because it's so hard to get through to anyone or to have good conversation at all. Signed, Senator Biscuits.
Where do these names come from, by the way? Are
I
these the
said,
Patreon?
give me a moniker,
Okay.
like Dear Abby style. They would always have like a little monitor,
Yeah.
and then some people have like really clever ones, and then some people have like really random ones.
It's giving furry. It's like I'm back
It's
there.
so given furry.
Okay. God, I have so many follow-up questions for this. Like, I want to know what his standards are, because sometimes people say that they have high standards, and it's just that somebody like has a job and brushes their teeth, or sometimes it's like they need to be hotter than Adriana Lima and be able to do the full splits and have the tightest pussy, and it's like you do have high standards, you know? So I can't tell if this guy's like actually has high standards. If he's 31 and a virgin, I would say that maybe he does have high standards in terms of like, has there been opportunities where he could have been dating someone or been intimate with someone, but he turned it down because like they weren't good enough for him or something?
I kind of take the opposite approach where, like, to me, if you are thinking about people in terms of standards and in terms of, like, I can feel in your language the overlay of this, like, marketplace concept. If that's ruling your thoughts, that's the problem. That, like, you are looking at women and you're like, is she in my league? Is she not in my league? Do you think I could go for it? It really reminds me of, and I'm not saying that you're this person, but have you ever seen the documentary about incels, Shy Boys?
No, but God,
Okay.
I'm gonna hate watch that later for sure.
So there's this guy, and to be clear, I want to like preface this with like there's an interesting intersection with incel culture where it's like these men are by and large extremely young and experiencing an incredible amount of like outsized pain and isolation, much of which I've related to at different points in my life. So it's not so much that I hold this like extremely harsh judgment toward them like I do the rest of the world, but it often leads them down this track of like aggression and hatred and bigotry toward women, and that's not acceptable. So I'm not going to like pull punches. Some of your language reminds me a little bit of this guy. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I think you're in pain and it's making you talk a little bit like this guy, but it can be harmful. So that disclaimer aside, this guy was talking about the documentarian asks him, she's like, what do you bring to the table? And he's like, nothing. I don't have a job. I live with my parents. I suck. And it's like, oh my God, I feel for you, dude. Like, that's so sad that you feel like the only things that you can bring to a relationship are like looking good or having money. Like that, I relate to that feeling more than anything because I'm a woman, you know? The only thing we can bring to the table is like tits and like a various ratio of body measurements, you know? And then he's like, and then she's like, well, what type of women do you usually go for? And he starts saying, I go for bottom of the barrel, ugly women, obese women. These are all his words, which are pretty disgusting. He's like marking a value on himself, which is 0, and then marking a value on a bunch of women and making sure that that value matches up. And the way that you say that, like, maybe my standards are too high because I have nothing to offer, just really feels like you might be going through the world putting value markers on different, like, human beings. And if you see someone as someone that you can, like, rate with a number and think about whether they're in your league or not, that's, like, a really good indicator that you don't also see them as, like, a full-on human being. Because I think that when I've dated with a healthy perspective, I just don't see people that way. I'm not thinking, like, is he in my league or not? I'm like, do we have a connection? And people can really feel when you don't see them as human.
Yes.
They can feel it from a mile away. We can feel it from across a bar if you're looking at us and you don't see us as human. We know and we avoid. We walk the other way.
And also, too, like in dating app conversations, it comes out in tiny ways, you know, like, oh, like, so do you even do anything for fun? Or like, but like there's little hints of like misogynism in certain questions sometimes. So that could be putting people off if you are talking to them on the apps.
Totally. But it sounds like you're like a super self-aware dude who's like really trying to do his best to be like a good person. You're just so discouraged, and that is such a familiar feeling.
So what is the question I think has a few things in it. One is like, are my standards too high, which is hard to tell because we don't really know what the standards are. And then the second is, how do I find more people? Because, you know, out of a pool of 100, I'm only attracted to 2, and those 2 women terrify me, so I don't want to talk to them.
Yeah.
I would say try talking to the uggos until you get your talking skills up.
I would say,
and then talk to the half hotties, and then talk to the supermodels.
I would say, what if you took romance off the table and you tried to get more used to pursuing women in a context of friendship?
Ooh.
No matter how hot they are, what if you said, for this year, I'm not going to try to meet women to fuck them. I am going to try to pursue friendships with women, because you will learn a lot about women by having more women friends. You will learn a lot about what we are into and how to like get women just by having more female friends. We are giving golden nuggets of advice constantly. You have a 5-minute conversation with a woman. She's going to tell you how to seduce any woman you run into. It's really incredible how much knowledge we have.
Yeah.
Take sex off the table, because it feels like all this pressure is provoking some shame in you. It's also interesting because just last episode we had a 31-year-old male virgin. I want to say he was 31, right? And he just got out of an arranged marriage, which within the context of a cult. Ooh. So it's like, I know it feels like you're the only dude in the world who's 31 and still a virgin and has trouble meeting women, but it's actually the most common story in the world.
Also, a lot of my friends recently have been meeting guys who are like 28, 29, 30 virgins, and they end up like sleeping with them. I will say it's kind of sketchy on the guy's part, because he'll tell them afterwards. This has happened to 3 of my friends, but it's more common than you think to be like a quote unquote older virgin. It's just that not a lot of people are talking about it.
Do you think it's unethical to keep that from someone before you sleep with them?
I don't think it's unethical. I just think I would probably want to know, because maybe I'd want to give them my best situation. You know, I'd really want to trim up down there, maybe light a candle. Like, I would want to make it romantic.
It's so funny, because if I found out a dude was a virgin, I'd be like, he has nothing to compare this to. I will be my most grown out self.
You're like, I'm actually going to be eating Doritos as you fuck me. Like, who cares?
And then you're going to be like, is this normal? I'm going to be like, I've eaten Doritos every time I've had sex. Since the beginning of having sex. And trust me, you're going to fuck a lot of women, and every single one of them are going to be eating Doritos. Potentially Cool Ranch, potentially Pringles, but they're all going to be eating chips.
Sweet and spicy for me.
This is normal.
Yeah, you could really change someone's entire perspective.
Yeah.
Your advice is great, though, being just like making other female friends. Like, that's a perfect first step.
Thank you so much. You can really feel when a dude is like good at talking to it. I feel like it'll make you so much less nervous when you start dating again. But if you feel like really scared of every woman that you find attractive, what if you approached them thinking like, I'm not even allowed to fuck her, even if she was begging me.
God, now it's hot.
I'm not even gonna fuck her if it's her last request before she's executed for a crime.
Yeah.
We're just gonna chat. And the more reps you get in of that, it will really cure your fear, because it's also exposure therapy.
A lot of people think that hot girls are mean, because I think Hollywood movies always write them that way. That some of the nicest girls in the world are extremely good looking, and it took me like a long time to figure that out, just because like growing up a little bit nerdy and then also like watching all of this media, I was like, oh, okay, if a girl is a 10 out of 10, she also has to be a bitch. They really aren't. They're super nice.
So true.
Yeah.
Also, I think a lot of times guys, we are pitched this idea from birth that like all guys find the same women the same amount attractive. That like every guy will look at a girl and be like, that's a 7. And it's wildly untrue. So especially in these incel cultures, because they really are obsessed with the like numeric value of hotness as commodity, and especially this like all important commodity that rules their lives, they will like look at a woman and be like, she is a 6 and I am also a 6, and therefore when I talk to her, she must be extremely flattered and pleased to get this attention, because she does not get attention every day. And I will say that you have no idea how much attention a woman is getting, so definitely don't approach uggos with this idea that like they're going to be so flattered that anyone's approaching them, and definitely don't approach hot women with this idea that they're getting constant attention and therefore there's no way, because like I have plenty of friends who are like really attractive and get an insane amount of attention online, but like dudes don't approach them in bars because it's not extremely common to get approached in bars. You really have to have like a social vibe for that to be happening.
Also, especially in the past couple of years, like nobody's doing approaching at bars anymore.
Yeah. So really try to like put the thought of like what number a girl is out of your brain and like whether or not she might want the attention out of your brain, and just be like, I'm going to approach this woman respectfully and see what her vibe is, because they are all extraordinarily unique and not like archetypes and numbers.
Yeah, we visit the same internet forums because I know exactly what you're talking about. Have you ever seen that like incel picture where they actually have the faces for 1 through 10?
We talked about this on the very last episode. I'm obsessed with the rating scale where it's like it's like 10 through 5 for women are all supermodels, and then 3s and 4s are also celebrities, just like Amy Schumer's and stuff, and then 2 and 1 are just like actually medically disfigured. It's like, what? It's the
I've seen it. God, I mean, if you can recognize that image, like, you deserve compensation, basically. But I know we both know what we're talking about.
But then the funniest part of that forum, the True Rate Me forum, is that if you go into the individual threads, where like a pretty normal looking, beautiful, younger lady posts, and all these guys are being like 8, 6, 4, 8, 9.
Yes.
And then the admins will be like, you're overrating her. She's not a 9. She's not an 8. And it's like, what if beauty was like insanely subjective and there was an extreme variety to the human form and like the appreciation of the human form?
The admins getting angry over that's
funny.
so real. And also, if you've seen the 1 through 10 chart for they have one for women, but they also have one for men.
Yes.
And the 10 man just looks like he's going to kill you. It's just like the most aggressive looking man you see, with like the most downturned eyebrows. I'm like, okay, like that's a murderer.
The
and they're
10
like, he's
man
a 10.
is like Andrew Skarsgård, right? Just like creepy celebrity type. And then 9 through 5 for men are just like dudes, like everyday looking
like
dudes,
Jim
like
Halpert,
literally Jim. Like every guy who is a 9 will also just like lives in your apartment building.
Yeah,
truly. And then 5 and below are all like old creepy dudes. Like Hunchback of Notre Dame.
He's a 2.
Yeah.
He's not even a 1.
Oh, he's a solid 4, dude.
Yeah, Elephant Man is like a 3 because he's a man.
Oh my goodness. Okay, next question.
Mm-hmm.
I've been dating my girlfriend for 6 months. We're both in our mid-20s. For some background, she has brought up this quote-unquote relationship she had as a 16-year-old where she was hooking up with / having sex with a 22-year-old. When she brought it up the first time, I was pretty disturbed because to me it sounded very predatory. She is very adamant that she was not taken advantage of in any way, and she insists that she was the one who, if anything, took advantage of this man. I'm worried that she needs someone to talk to, but I'm also worried that I might just be wrong about the situation. I've never really concerned myself with my partner's previous relationships too much in the past because it seems like none of my business. Should I be concerned? Signed, age gap relationship.
I would say don't be concerned because, like, is this so dark? Like, every girl's gotten raped or like been groomed. I'm like so sorry, but like it's so funny because guys will be like, oh my, which by the way is a great response to have because some guys don't take that seriously. Or,
I'm happy that you're taking it seriously and that you're concerned by it. There was an uncomfortable power dynamic, but also don't like overwrite her interpretation of the situation. She gets to lead that conversation. If it's something she wants to process and be sad about, that's her decision. And it sounds like she doesn't.
Yeah. And also, like, every girl, it's probably going to be one of those things that when she hits like 27, 28, she's like, wait a minute, that was really predatory. But so many, I mean, I feel like most girls have had a relationship where you think you were in charge and like, oh my God, you were actually like this mastermind. Nah, you were just getting groomed. You know, it was just so well that you thought you weren't being groomed, you know?
I will also say it's like a common experience that the age gap, because every girl has had a crazy age gap relationship when she was about 16. And it was with a musician. And he was 22 to 24. And he had his own apartment, but was like poor. So you were like, we're on the same level. And that relationship she might see it as grooming if it was a bad relationship. But if by all accounts he was like fairly nice to her, which is super common, like you can have a bad unethical relationship where the person's still really nice to you and it can still have been a positive experience. Like for me, the relationships where like lines were crossed that were inappropriate were also not the relationships that like harmed me the most. And so I really don't want to think of them as wrong, because it's like, what do I just have to think of like my entire fucking adolescence is just like a grand string of abuse? Like I would rather just like see the nice spots for what they were. And like she wants to, in the narrative of her life, see this as a nice relationship where she held the power, and that's fully her prerogative.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would say like if she keeps bringing it up, then maybe you could talk about it. But if she only brought it up once, then it's probably fine. And also the only thing she probably wants is for you to just, I don't know, give her a big hug and be like, I would never, like, nothing's ever going to happen to you. Daddy's home.
I've also had this experience so often with the straight men that I've dated, because I date men who are like a little bit more sensitive and nice.
Oh,
where? I mean, I'm really attracted to a specific type of dude who's like extremely kind to me and extremely obsessed with me. And it really steals me off from a lot of like harm that would come to me if I was attracted to like douchebags, you know?
Yeah.
But every time that I've dated a guy, when we start talking about our sexual history, they will like tell a story about like a crazy sexual experience. And I will be like, oh, you were perchance assaulted. That woman crossed boundaries and lines that you might not have known about, but it could have harmed you. I don't know. Do you feel like it harmed you? And I feel like I've gotten pretty good at like introducing this as like, if you ever want to see it from that perspective, you would be in the right and I would be here for you. And if you don't, I'm also not going to like force that on you, because most of the time they are not ready to see it from that perspective.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you'll see this look in their face where they're like, oh, I'm not ready for that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I also grew up Irish Catholic, so I'm like, sometimes things are good shoved under the rug. There's no need to vacuum it out. Just leave it there. It'll die.
That's so true. A lot of
Yeah.
people really believe that you have to like process something before you can like move and grow as a person. And like things that are unprocessed are like always holding you back. And I've never felt that way. I
Yeah.
feel like you can really just ignore what you want, and it's better that way.
It's worked so far. So yeah, I would say let it go.
Hell yeah. Let it go. Let her know that if she ever, I think the idea of like, if you ever want to talk about it under a different lens, I'm here for that. But you also get to decide what this experience was. So just let her know that if she does change her mind in the future, which she probably will when she's exactly 28, like you're there for it. And I'm so happy that you see it from that side, and that you're like aware of this like major cultural trend of age gap relationships.
Yeah. Also, too, so many guys, if you tell them about like something sexually traumatic that happened to you, they almost get a little slut shamey, you know?
Really?
Yeah. Have you not
I've never
experienced
had that happen to me.
Yeah, no, it happens.
Because again, I only date really sensitive, really nice guys.
Anyway, but I want to say that like you writing in that question, like you are a really good boyfriend, because that's really sweet to be thinking about your girlfriend in that way.
Yeah, really good boyfriend. You get points. You are one of the good ones.
How many points should we give him? I'd say 4 points.
Yes, 4
Yeah.
points for Gryffindor. Okay, last question.
Ba-dum.
Should I put that I lost a significant amount of weight in my online dating profiles? This year, I lost a little over 80 pounds. I still have probably another 80 to go. I have updated the pictures in my profile to reflect my new body, but as I'm still overweight, there's a part of me that wants to let people know I'm on a weight loss journey. But I don't know if that's TMI. Signed, weight loss and waiting.
I like the phrasing of weight loss journey, because like it's not just about like numbers going down on a scale, right? Usually this is like a lifestyle change. It could be something active you're doing, something you're abstaining from, taking up, whatever. And I've seen people on dating apps before be like, in one of the prompts where you're answering a question like, what do you like, or what's a typical Sunday for you, like, you know, they'll say, I don't know, like, I like to do this and then do that, and then, you know, hit the trails, parentheses, like down 80 pounds and like 80 more to go or something. So they kind of work it into a prompt. And I think that's always reads great when I see it. I don't like ever think anything too much of it. What do you think?
It's interesting because when I am thinking about dating profiles, I'm more so thinking about like what type of person is going to like versus dislike something. And is that the type of person that you want to be letting through the gates or shutting out of the gates? So for me, I get really scared to think that you
The part
say
at
like
the end
80
where
more to
it's-
go and
yeah.
someone's like, oh well, like maybe if they do intend to lose more weight, I'm like okay with the way this person looks. I would say you could be like, I've recently gotten a lot more active and it makes me so happy. And I'd love to meet someone who also likes being active and we could do that together. That to me, especially because it doesn't mention weight at all, but it really kind of like, obviously they can put two and two together and like, oh, okay, this person is like maybe going through a weight loss journey, but it also doesn't make any sort of like promises about like, I intend to look a different way in the future.
Yeah, and I think there's also a lot of like every action that you do has qualities behind it, right? So like if you're an athlete, right, that shows that like you're dedicated, you're routine driven. If you are an artist, you're creative, you're a visionary or whatever. And if you are on a journey like this, right, like that does show the characteristics of goal setting, goal achieving, routine, planning things out, determination. So I feel like focusing on those qualities more so than, like you said, like the exact number. Like I'm someone who like loves to like be active and like set goals, and I'm looking for a similar, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. I will also say from a like nutrition and weight loss and like cultural attitudes around weight loss being like my special interest kind of. I will say that like a vast majority of people who lose weight, the weight loss journey will not be like a sharp and immediate slope down. It will be a complex pattern of ups and downs, and I hope that you're prepared for that emotionally, and I also hope that you don't get with someone who thinks that that is bad and that is a reflection of like your inadequate determination or something, because it really has nothing to do, like your body responds to weight loss by putting yourself in a state of starvation. Like every 10% of your body mass that you lose, your metabolism slows down by more than 10%. Your body is designed to hold on to weight.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
100%. There's actually a phenomenal article that I've been obsessed with my entire life and that I ask everyone close to me to read from the New York Times. It's called Everything You Know About Obesity is Wrong. But essentially, there's a great deal of conspiracy related to the weight loss industry and related to
my ears perking up. I'm like,
our
conspiracy.
medical attitudes around weight loss are very much dictated by the fact that in the 80s, people accidentally made a drug that made people lose weight, but also caused heart attacks.
Was this
okay?
Adderall? What?
But it's similar. It's
Okay.
an amphetamine.
Yeah.
And to get this drug FDA approved, and you're like, oh, we have this, it's causing people to lose weight. That could make a lot of money, but it's causing heart attacks. That kills people, so that's bad. The only way that the FDA will approve a drug is if it has a side effect, but the side effect is not as bad as what it cures for. So if 16% of people who take this drug, and this is a random number I'm throwing out, get heart attacks and die, but you can prove that 17% of people who are obese get heart attacks and die, then your drug will be approved by the FDA to be prescribed to people who are technically obese. So then you have this company funding studies that provide a shoddy link, a shoddy correlation between obesity and heart attacks. Many of those studies have been debunked. And in fact, being underweight is has a far greater link to different mortalities like heart attacks specifically. You're way more likely to get a heart attack from being underweight than you are from being the same amount overweight.
Because your body is like so weak that it can't sustain itself.
Absolutely. Well, it's just bad for your body to be underweight.
Yeah.
Your body wants to hold on to fat. Your body wants to be fed. It's better for you. And in general, the percentage of the population who is overweight, who is suffering health consequences because of it, is much smaller than we think. And there is a huge swath of the population that is actually perfectly healthy, and the only thing impacting their health is that their doctor is not treating them adequately, always pressuring them to lose weight in ways that are unhealthy for them, and not treating underlying issues. So a huge portion of the population is being underserved. The mortality rate for overweight people when they seek medical care is just absolutely fucking dismal. Anyway, I might not have done the best job of summarizing an extremely technical issue. So please just look up Everything You Know About Obesity is Wrong. It's a phenomenal article, and it's a really great read if you're interested in the ways that fat people are mistreated by society. But you're on a weight loss journey, and that is personal to you.
Yeah, that would be a good book, by the way. You know how sometimes they take an article and they like add some more to it and make it into a book? That's like even a good title for a book.
I think there have been some recently, because I'm seeing more and more stuff online, like on TikTok and Instagram, that's like a little bit centered around having that conversation.
Yeah.
And the fact that your weight is not an expression of your health. And a lot of times losing weight by whatever means necessary is not necessarily good for your health. That being said, you can do whatever you want with your body.
Wait, what was the exact question again? It was, how should I talk about this on the dating apps?
Yeah, should I mention it on dating apps?
Yeah,
How
should I
should
mention
I?
it?
Yeah, I don't know if that's TMI. I would say that it's not TMI. You can say whatever you want in your dating app profile. I would be anxious about something that might attract a person who is not a good person and who is not going to have a healthy view of weight and weight loss. I think you want to say things on your bio that would attract people who would have an healthy and evolved perspective the way that you do, because you've been through this journey.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, especially if maybe they've been lucky enough to just live in a thin body naturally their entire lives, a lot of them just like have really outdated and lame perspectives about the whole issue. So try not to get with one of them, because they're not going to be fun to have around in a weight loss journey.
Yes. I feel like you can kind of pick up sometimes too on someone's profile if like they're weird about that stuff. I don't know. There's so many guys who are always like, be active, 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 and like don't sit on the couch and like active. And I'm like, I feel like you have body issues. Like this isn't about breathing in air on a mountain for you. This is about like how somebody looks. So I don't know. Could be the same on girls too.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, that's our last question.
Woo.
Shannon, what do you have coming up that you'd like the listeners to go?
Ooh, just a bunch of different podcast episodes. We just recorded one that'll be out soon, all about celebrity face reading.
Oh
So
my
we
God.
had Twee Dom in here, and she did Chinese face reading on celebrity. So we did some of the funky ones like Benedict Cumberbatch or Anya Taylor-Joy. Like, what do their
Oh,
faces
yeah,
mean? And then we're doing a fun like government conspiracy theory. What things have they like snuck into bills by this woman who is on Congressional Dish is the name of her podcast. So she watches C-SPAN all day and she knows everything about like what's going on. So that was fun and conspiratorial. And then just anything celebrity gossip, speculative, or like junk food topics. That's what we do at Fluently Forward.
That's so fun. And I am Hannah Jones Cool on every social media platforming. Links to upcoming shows and my text list is at the link tree in my bio. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day.